Stein was escorted off the property at the presidential debate at Hofstra University campus. And I know everyone's saying that she's crazy and she's a lunatic, and again, I know you think she's crazy, and you might be right. She may be crazy, but it may just be a lunatic that I'm looking for. You're listening to the River's Edge Radio Network. I am Brian Crawford at the Millville Studios, powered by NJL WebTech, riversedgepgh.com. Honest, practical, and affordable. Go to njlwebtech.com for all of your web servicing needs. I'm actually thinking about Jill Stein. And I know people are looking at me like I'm crazy, especially people who know me and know my background. For those of you who don't know, I used to be a local councilman out of my hometown, and I worked for the House Republican Caucus here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So you must be thinking, how in the hell is he considering Jill Stein? Well, I can tell you, this is how. The lady constantly is getting herself into situations where she could be arrested and has been charged with crimes, and you think, well, you want somebody who was charged with crimes to be a president? Well, at least then you know she believes in whatever the hell she's saying. And I think that is a vast improvement to the rubbish that has been shoved down our throats every year. And a good example of this was just the other night, Monday, at the debate, where Hillary Clinton completely flip-flopped on the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So, I don't know. Who won Monday night's debate? I don't know. I can tell you who lost. America lost. I really, really want to vote for Gary Johnson, and he, out of the 4 candidates, would be my number one choice. But going back to the Trans-Pacific Partnership, he needs to abandon the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And right now, Gary Johnson is a supporter of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. It is probably the worst trade deal the United States could hope to engage in. It's a disaster. It allows foreign, large business, big business, foreign industry to reign supreme over our own Constitution and our own rights. It's a disastrous trade agreement, and it needs to be shut down immediately. It needs to go away. Gone. And people talk about the Aleppo situation with Gary Johnson, and I don't know. To me, that's not as big of a deal as his support of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Granted, it is embarrassing whenever someone from the media asks you a question about something, you don't know the answer, and the media guy's response is, really? Really? You don't know that? He needs to brush up on his foreign policy for sure, but it's one of those situations where you would be briefed going into office. And unfortunately, he stands no chance. Jill Stein stands no chance. These 2 candidates who, in my opinion, are vastly superior to the 2 mainstream candidates we have, but we have been convinced in this country to live within this bubble of one side or the other. Your vote is thrown away if you vote for the third-party candidate. Well, that's true only because everybody subscribes to the notion that you're throwing your vote away if you vote for a third-party candidate. If all of the people who said, oh, you know what, I really like Gary Johnson or I really like Jill Stein, but damn it, I'm not going to throw my vote away, I got to vote for Hillary or Trump. If half of those people voted for the third-party candidate, I still don't think they would win, but they would at least be relevant, and we would at least be moving towards a time when third parties could be relevant in this country. And don't forget, it wasn't always just this. You always had 2 major parties in this country, but there were relevant third-party candidates in our past. And I've always contested the fact that these people seriously want to win. Everyone believes that, Jill Stein's in it to win it and Gary Johnson is in it to win it. I don't think they really care about winning. I don't think the Libertarian Party is really a serious party. And, I've always said I would never vote for a third party because until they start becoming serious about winning elections, but how much more of this can you take? And what do I mean? You're asking yourself, what do you mean, Brian? They're not serious about winning elections. Of course they're serious about winning elections. Jill Stein was just escorted off the premises, and this is not the first time she's been escorted off the premises for trying to jump into the debate. Well, here's what I mean. When have you ever seen a libertarian running for city council in Pittsburgh? When have you ever seen a Green Party candidate running for prothonotary? You don't. You never see them running for anything but president. A true party who plans to win a national election, they start at the bottom. They start winning that council seat. They start running for local treasurer, magistrate. They start running for state representative. They build committees and they build a network. And through that network, they support one another and they build the party up. That is how you win a national election. How do you know this, Brian? You need big money to win. Well, that's true. You do need money to win. But you ask yourself, how do you know this, Brian? How do you know that this is the way a third party is to win an election? You don't know what you're talking about. Well, I do know what I'm talking about. But let history be your guide. The Republican Party, everyone likes to imagine that this was just some party that was invented and became some major party. The Republican Party was a small, minor third party. It was, in fact, a regional party. The Republican Party was not a nationwide party when it began to take prominence. And in fact, it did not become a nationwide party, a national party, until after the Civil War, when now African Americans, the slaves who were freed, joined the Republican Party because that was the party that was in power that freed the slaves in the South. So the Republican Party was a small minority party that networked, and they ran in races that were on the local level. They ran in races, on the U.S. level that were senatorial races and congressional races. And they built this network, they built this cachet that allowed them to propel themselves into the presidency. That is how you win a presidential election. I don't think the Libertarian Party is serious about winning. I do not think that the Green Party is serious about winning. Otherwise, they would be running in these local races, and you would see them much more often than you do now. Right now, they're basically non-existent. Once in every 5 years, you see a Libertarian candidate who runs for some position, and they're usually just a Republican who changed their name because they think that they live in Allegheny County and they cannot win as a Republican. So how did the debate go? Jill Stein was not, well, she was there, but she was escorted away. Gary Johnson did not show up. He was probably high. Trump had one opportunity to really knock Hillary Clinton out. He had one opportunity for a knockout death blow, and he didn't do terrible, but he didn't go in for the kill. I feel that whole debate, he was a little off. He was a little hesitant. And I don't know I don't know what the reason is. I credit it maybe for being a newcomer in politics, and this type of scenario is very different than a primary debate. But the debate went on, and they went into the whole DNC email scandal. They were talking about the hacking of different American entities, whether it be a private industry, an organization like the DNC, or our federal government. And Trump brought up the Debbie Wasserman Schultz situation. We talked about that on this show. The DNC email scandal, where it came out through an outside hacker, many believe to be Russia, that the Democratic Party, the super elites, the top people in the Democratic Party rigged the election in favor of Hillary Clinton. And Donald Trump could have won this debate with one phrase. He could have said that you wouldn't be on this stage today if you and your cronies in the Democratic National Committee did not rig this election. That's it. Game match. He could have won right there. Because he's right, Bernie Sanders very well could be the candidate that we see on the stage versus Trump Monday. I say yesterday. I watched the show yesterday. By the way, I was at the Acoustic Cafe during the show, and to show you how big this debate was as far as people's attention, it was definitely the biggest event on Monday night. The Acoustic Cafe was barren. There were some very good musicians there, but my God, was it sparse compared to what it usually is. All of the musicians in Pittsburgh apparently were at home watching the debate. And it's important. The debate's important. But, I'm thinking to myself, do I want to go watch this debate? Do I want to watch two asshats talk over one another, which is what they did at this debate? Or do I want to go listen to great local Pittsburgh music? And you know where I was going. Why was Donald Trump distracted? Was it because he was a newcomer? Was it because Hillary got him off his game? Maybe he was just distracted from his cocaine withdrawal. And that's just a joke. Howard Dean tweeted on Twitter that he thinks that Donald Trump is a cocaine addict because he kept sniffing the entire debate. I don't know. I don't care. People were pissed about Donald talking over Hillary and the moderator, and Hillary did it a little bit, but not nearly as much as the Donald. I actually enjoyed that, to be quite honest. And you think, oh, Brian, how could you enjoy that? That's so unpresidential. Well, we've had these debates for years and years, and it's never really a true debate, ever. You've got a topic, the moderator comes up with a topic, and he says, we're going to talk about this. And then candidate A, the Democrat, she responds to talking about this by saying her platitude, or his platitude, or their commentary. And it's literally just a grandstand. And then Republican candidate B goes up and he gives his point. And there's no actual debating. It's just 5 minutes of me feeding you my line of bullshit, and then 5 minutes of this person feeding you their line of bullshit. And that's how debates have been in my entire adult life. Just an exchanging of platitudes, no back and forth. So I would actually rather see a true debate where candidates are questioning one another and challenging one another on a topic. To me, you're going to learn so much more about a subject by allowing an actual debate to ensue. So I enjoyed that. What was the biggest issue of the debate? Was it the Clinton email scandal, or was it the Donald tax evasion claims? I want to hear your thoughts on that. 412-407-2PGH. You can hit me up on Twitter at RiverTalkPGH. Both of them are pretty awful, and both sides, both supporters, are trying to make excuses for why the other candidate is, why their scandal is acceptable. First off, if you're running for president and you don't even have the courtesy to pay your fair share as a billionaire, then I don't really see how you can claim to really have the people's best interests at heart. On the other side, Clinton with her email scandal. Her situation, in many ways, in my opinion, is almost worse, because you are showing a lack of competency in a job that is a subordinate position to the job that you're applying for as Secretary of State. If you're not competent enough to handle an email account, then maybe you're not competent enough to run a country. Again, both of these situations are awful. And both of these candidates are awful. I really would like another candidate. Why can't we have a third party that's relevant, a third party that is willing to do what it takes to build the network to run for the presidency? Those are my thoughts on this recent campaign presidential debate situation. Again, it was not the biggest of, it was the biggest event Monday night. It left events like the Acoustic Cafe with a much smaller audience than normal. And I thought about going out yesterday to another acoustic mic, but I'm just like, I thought I needed to talk about this today, even though I really wasn't that interested in this debate, because you don't find out anything new. And people always ask, who wins the debate? I don't think anyone really wins these debates. You have to really screw up, and the most that you could do is lose support. I don't think you're going to gain anybody. I don't think Trump has gained any support from the debate.